good family. So I'm fresh out the theater, bro. I'm fresh out the theater. Like, I just got home literally 5 minutes ago on some real shit, bro. I'm going to do this video in two ways. The first half will be non-spoiler review. I don't even know if it's going to be half because I have a lot to say. But you know, the second half of this video will be spoiler filled. Hopefully I can actually do that now. The movie is technically out, so if you're clicking this video, you're either one, wanting to see a non-spoiler, or two, you're gonna skip to this timestamp right here and go straight to the spoiler filled part where I'm gonna discuss the entire movie, bro. This franchise has had a, no pun intended, chokehold on my life since I started watching it at the young age of like 12, bro. Whenever Final Destination 3 came out, probably a few years after that, bro. Like, I watched the third one, and then I was addicted to it since then. I've watched all of them probably like 5 times a piece, even the fourth one. I don't even mess with it that much, but the fourth one, I just like the series so much that I can't stop watching. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. But I will start the non-spoiler review right now. This Final Destination, I'll rank it at the very end, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna know like how by how highly I'm about to be talking about it. That I, of course, loved and enjoyed this movie. This is the first Final Destination movie I've watched since the first one that felt like an actual movie watching it. Like, of course, you guys know Final Destination. It became kind of like a staple to, you know, Premonition, Death Star, everybody dies. That's basically how it goes. Like, it has the same formula throughout kind of all movies. Of course, they throw some things in. Like in the second one is, oh, you have to die. In the third one, oh, here's pictures. In the fourth one, who cares? Fifth one, you have to kill somebody. They threw a different thing in every single time. This is the first one where it was like, I'm watching like an actual movie. It felt like a film. It felt like whoever made this and directed this and produced this and, you know, was a part of this entire process genuinely cared about making this movie. Like, it felt like a movie. Like, it felt like, yo, we watching a movie, oh shit, somebody just got destroyed. Oh, we watching a movie, oh shit, damn, that's crazy. Like, it felt like you were watching something that, a passion project. That's the best way I can put it. Like, they genuinely cared about making this movie, and you can tell. So, of course, I enjoyed it throughout the entire thing. The Premonition at the very beginning, probably my favorite Premonition, honestly. Like, like when I tell, it's so hard to explain. You have to see it, bro. Like, if you are watching this video on the fence about going to see this movie, if you're watching this video to see if you should go see it as a longtime fan of Final Destination, I promise you, the first like 3/4 of this movie is a masterpiece, bro. I'll get to the end in a second, but the first 3/4 of this movie is like, everything is so well put together. The Premonition's amazing. The characters are amazing. Both protagonists. You have Iris in the first part of it, which is like maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes of it, and then of course you have Stephanie throughout the rest of the thing. Both amazing. What I liked about this one is the Premonition felt like it took a while to set up. Like, if you guys watch, of course, the other Final Destinations, it kind of just like they are in this action, the actions happen, it's over, it's all a premonition. Inside this, it felt like they were trying to genuinely build a world within this little premonition. They started introducing, you know, small characters. They started introducing major characters that are throughout the entire series. They started, you know, showing different things. They, of course, showed like the different things that could go wrong, which ended up going wrong. I love that part of Final Destination movies where like a character says or does something that you know is gonna end up affecting something in the future. Like, they make it very obvious. It's just like, seems like little throwaway lines for people that don't know what to look for. But if you do know what to look for, it's like, damn, that shit about to be crazy once that actually happened. And there was a lot in this whole premonition scene. Like, they started showing, you know, the chef cooking with a whole bunch of fire. They started showing, you know, small cracks inside the glass. They started showing screws loose in the building itself. They had some random old man that was like, oh, you guys are tearing me apart. Like, it's just like, you're clearly gonna get torn apart. Like, you're 1,000,000,000% gonna get torn apart sometime between this whole premonition. Like, of course. And he did. That's not even a spoiler. Like, you know it's gonna happen. It's like me saying, you guys are ripping the head off my body. Like, what? Who says stuff like that? And then, of course, I die by, you know, something severing my head or something. Like, it's just small stuff like that I love about this series. But inside this one, it felt more genuine. It felt smoother. It felt like some characters actually would do stuff like this, and that's only in the first 15 minutes. After that happens, you know, it goes. I'll talk about the entire thing in the spoiler review. This is also maybe the only Final Destination movie where I cared about every single character. Like, this is it felt crazy, bro. Like, I loved Eric's character more than anything. I loved Bobby's character and the fact that he like really genuinely was a good person and he genuinely wanted to stay alive. I love the sister Julie, even though she, you know, wasn't in it for that long. I'll talk about that more in the, you know, spoiler review. Every character they introduced was a very genuine, likable character. The only character I really could have cared less about was Stephanie and Charlie's dad. It's like, I don't really like the movie. I don't really like the characters in these movies that are like over skeptical. Like, bro, we just saw somebody gruesomely murdered, and you're not gonna believe that death is coming after us crazy. Like, bro, that dude just got brought up in the air by some wire string and whipped to death by fucking electric wires. Like, what? Like, who does that happen to? You still don't believe that this shit is actually happening? Like, I'm not gonna say too much, but the dad, Charlie and Stephanie's dad, witnessed literally the craziest. Like, you never seen nobody die like this before in your life, and he still was like, guys, I just don't quite believe it. Like, and then it happened like 3 more times. Like, it happened like 3 times where she's trying to tell the group like, yo, you guys gotta believe me. And then eventually the family did, but then the dad was still like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't believe nothing. You guys are crazy. Like, bro, what? Like, did you see what just happened to that dude? Like, what the? But yeah, it's like stuff like that. I don't like characters like that, so I didn't really mess with his character. But everybody else killed it. Everybody else killed it. Even he killed it. Like, that if you make somebody feel that way acting in a performance, then obviously you affected me in a way because of your acting skill. I just didn't like that character, but the actor himself, phenomenal. All these actors, phenomenal. They played amazing roles inside this. The deaths inside this movie, I won't spoil it until the second half of this video. The deaths were, woo, I will say maybe only one death wasn't that unique. Like, one death was kind of like, we've seen it before. It was kind of whatever, and it really sucks because that character's death was going to be different if you watch the trailers. Like, it clearly was going to be different. There was a scene inside the trailer that just wasn't inside the movie whatsoever. I don't know if it was because they didn't want to pull the trigger too early on that character, or it wouldn't have made too much sense, or the death maybe didn't really make that much sense after they kind of watched it back and was like, that couldn't happen. Because I will say the deaths in this movie are extremely realistic. Like, they're even the goofy ones are like, that could, in the goofiest scenario, it could somehow actually happen. Like, it's not like Rory's death in Final Destination 2 where the nigga gets destroyed by wires or whatever. But like, inside this movie, the deaths are, from what I remember, can actually genuinely happen. I think that's all I kind of want to talk about for like the non-spoiler part of it. I will rate this movie, in my opinion, I got this probably recency bias. As a movie, this is probably the best Final Destination movie. As a movie. Like I said, I will discuss the ending in a second. The only kind of gripe I have about that is like the ending. Like, you kind of expect what's gonna happen. It feels a little rushed, but not really too much rushed where it like takes you out of the experience. It's just kind of like, it shows, you guys know what happens in Final Destination movies if you've watched it before. Like, if the characters have their kumbaya and hug each other, yay, 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 and then it fades to black, and then it fades back in, you like, oh, okay, I know what's about to happen. Like, anytime it fades out and then fades back in and they in a completely different scenery and they somewhere with, you know something bad about to happen, it's like, okay, yeah, I understand what's going to happen now. But that's the only thing I kind of, but it's a Final Destination movie, so of course it's going to happen like that. I'll rate this movie as strong. I got it as the best Final Destination movie right now. I don't know, bro. I don't want to give it a 5 out of 5, but it's like I can't really find nothing too much wrong with it. Like, and I'm a long-time lover of this series. Like, I really enjoy this movie. I'll give it a 5 out of 5, bro. Genuinely, I can't find nothing wrong with this movie. Like I said, only one death was like, I mean, that's whatever. Like, it wasn't, only one death, I guess, was untalk about worthy. I don't really know a word that can condense that sentence, but only one death was untalk about worthy. The rest of them, as I'm about to talk about in the spoiler part, the rest were crazy. Like, the rest were absolutely insane, bro. Like, I went with my family. My little brother was with me, and my little brother was around the same age that I started watching it. And he was just like, he was in the seat like, woo, like squirming. Like, in some parts, some deaths were like genuinely insane. There was one death that was, which I'm sure if you've seen the movie already, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was one death that was like, yo, like, and like, I'll talk about it more, but the thing is, like, the person that had that death was like, didn't even need to have that death. I'll explain it more, you'll understand it more in a second, but the person that had that death didn't need to have that death, which was the funniest part about the death, but it still was maybe, I'd say probably the most gruesome death in the series. It doesn't quite, I mean, it kind of lives up to, you know, Final Destination 3, the tanning bed. I feel like, anyway, like that up until this point was like the craziest death so far, but this death inside this movie is definitely right there neck and neck. Like, I feel like you can make an argument for it being more gruesome than that one, even though being burned alive is kind of like a really crazy thing. But I'm going to go into the spoiler part of this. I'll rate this 5 stars. I highly recommend it for you guys if you haven't seen it. If you're not a fan of horror movies, I feel like you might still enjoy it. If you are a fan of horror movies and you are a fan of Final Destination, I feel like you will really enjoy this movie. If you don't like gore and stuff like that, I'm trying to think of, because I really enjoy gore inside of horror. I'm trying to think of this movie. It's not Terrifier level, I will say that. There's nothing where it's just like insane. Not that I can think of right now. There are, of course, some very gruesome parts inside this movie, but there's nothing like Terrifier level where the dude just sawing somebody's stomach in half and pulling the guts out. Hey, like throwing the kidney and spleens all over where, like, it's nothing that crazy. There is some gruesome, very gruesome scenes, but nothing is like overly gory where it's just like that makes me uncomfortable. But if you don't like gruesome and gore, I probably wouldn't go watch it anyway. I'm gonna go into the spoiler part of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and, you know, edit this part right here. Yes, sir. All right, the spoiler portion of this video. I'm gonna go ahead and say that one more time. Anything past this point, spoiler. Like, spoiler to the point where I'm about to literally sit here and talk about this entire movie from beginning to end, bro. Like, like I'm a damn audiobook. Like, I'm being dead serious right now, bro. I'm about to literally rip this movie apart from beginning to end. I'm talking about every single thing. So if you're watching this and it's like, maybe he's not spoiling it that cool. No, I'm about to spoil every single part. Starting from the very beginning. So it starts off at the Premonition. As I said in the beginning part, the Premonition part is amazing. The kills inside this part, as I was saying earlier, there's an old man that was literally like, you guys are ripping me apart, or whatever happens. Like, whenever he dies, of course he's gonna get ripped in half, but everything is set up in a way where it's kind of like that. So the movie starts off by, you know, Iris and her boyfriend, I'm forgetting her boyfriend's name, I'm sorry to that actor, but both killed the roles that they are playing. They're pulling up basically to, actually before that, the movie starts off showing a neighborhood. And it shows the neighborhood kind of like goes over the entire horizon. And then it shows the neighborhood is next to a railroad track, which will be important so far in the movie that I gotta respect that they foreshadowed it that early. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. They basically show the neighborhood, the railroad track, the car goes over, they're talking, and then it pulls up to them at this Grand EOS building. I think it's called the Needle. It's like a huge tower inside Seattle. Think of the building, if you guys have seen the Views album cover for Drake, where he's kind of just sitting on that big needle tower, that's kind of what this thing looks like. So it's like a huge, thin building, and then it kind of is a huge dome at the top where people go inside and have parties and stuff. The boyfriend is bringing her there for a surprise because he plans on, yeah, they call it an Amber Alert. It's like, I'm gonna suit up as Superman right quick. Go ahead and put that down right there. If y'all hear vibrating, that's because they think I'm Spider-Man, Miles Morales or something. I have no idea. But he's going there to propose. So of course he wants to make a spectacle out of it. I'm bringing you to this new building that just now opened up. Nobody's been inside here. This is a grand opening for this building. So as they're going to the building, they're noticing different things. They're seeing a kid kind of going through a fountain, picks up a penny, and this guard or whatever is like, yo, put that penny down. It's very unlucky if you take things out of where they belong, basically. Which this penny that he picks up also somehow makes it throughout the entire movie. Like it's so crazy, like how well they set things up with this movie. Insane how they set things up with this movie. To the point where, like, usually I can kind of guess what happens in a Final Destination movie. This penny, I did not guess how this is going to be important at the end of this movie. So he's like, whatever. He put the penny inside his pocket and still stole it anyway because he's a badass little kid. He literally, like, that's his character. He's just a badass kid that just don't listen. He literally called a guard fat ass for no reason. Like, he honestly sounded like a Gen Z kid more than anything. He did not sound like no kid from the 30s and 40s. He, like, literally sounded like one of these badass little TikTok kids. Man, shut your fat ass up. Like, it was some crazy stuff. Like, actually, genuinely. They see that, and then they proceed to go up to the top of the tower. Now, when she goes to get inside the elevator, she notices that the doors don't close all the way. I'm remembering back right now, I don't think that was important. I wish it would have paid off a little bit more, but I don't think the fact that the elevator didn't close all the way was important. It just happened. I thought it was going to be, but nothing really happened from that. Other than, the guy that I'll explain later, but I don't think that really was that important when the elevators didn't close all the way. The elevator goes all the way up. She's noticing, people partying, having a good time, drinking. It's just one grand spectacle. The guy goes to the guy who, like, sits people down, the host or whatever. And the host is this really old dude, and he's like, yo, I'm here for my reservation. And the host is like, no, you're not on this list. And if you were on this list, I took you off a long time ago, so you can go ahead and make your way back downstairs. Like, honestly, and seeing what happened, like, it would have not only stopped so much movies from happening, bro, but like it would have caused everything to naturally go how it's supposed to be. If they would have just left that building and left at that moment, that very moment. But what happens is they end up sneaking in anyway. After the guy's like, oh, you guys are tearing me in half or whatever. They go and sneak in, and he's like, yo, let's go to the top. I have to ask you something. So they go to the top of it where they can see the entire city, and he proposes. He's like, absolutely. He gives her the ring and everything. The ring is a really tight fit, but they still managed to push it on anyway all the way. It is an extremely tight fit, though, and they made sure to make a spectacle out of that. As he's proposing, it kind of shows the little badass kid that we saw earlier that had the penny or whatever. So he's just like throwing different coins out the building, and another guard's like, yo, bro, you are bad. Stop acting bad. Go where are your parents at? Who are you up here with? It didn't show his parents not one time in this whole scene, by the way. Like, it never shows his parents. It never shows them. I don't even know how he got up there. Like, who brought you here? It had to have been like one of the band members or some shit. Like, it had to have been. But the kid's like, all right, bet, say less. And as the guard walked away, he's like, shut your fat ass up. And then immediately throws another penny off the side of the building. But the penny doesn't go all the way off because that's not how gravity works. So it kind of lands on the side and then rolls down into this vent area. And then, of course, causes, if you want to go watch it, I can't really explain this because it's like, in Final Destination terms, just so many like trinkets and puzzles happen to where it causes basically the collapse of this entire building. But of course, it is a premonition. Inside this premonition, everybody dies except her and this little black boy, who she ends up trying to save, and then she falls off kind of the side of the building. Her ring gets cut. Her ring is caught like on this little nail piece, and then degloves her entire finger, and they both fall to their death. The little black boy and her. She dies first. The little black boy dies after her. So this goes into a smooth transition to showing our character for the entire movie, who's been having these nightmares about this random scene that I just explained inside her head. She doesn't know why she's having these. She doesn't know who the woman is, but she does know that the woman has the same name as her estranged grandma that she's never met before. So she ends up, starting to fail her classes because she can't sleep. She's always having nightmares and night terrors, and a teacher pulls her aside and was like, yo, I'm gonna put you on academic probation. You are here on scholarship. You used to be a really phenomenal student, but it seems like your head's not in the right place, so you need to go home. And she also gets seconded that by her roommates that's like, yo, if you are so like just fixated on this woman who is your grandma, maybe you should go back home to your family or whatever and try to talk to your grandma or whatever. So she ends up leaving and going back to her family, which starts off the entire movie. I won't sit here and explain the entire movie piece by piece by piece by piece, but I will kind of talk about the things that I do like about this. I just wanted to kind of go over the intro and what starts off the entire movie. So she ends up going home and in a way finding a way to go find her grandma. So they send her over to her grandma after like kind of a fight that, you know, the dude she talks to is of course the grandma's son, whose name is Howard, this old white man basically. And he's like, no, my mom was crazy and I don't like talking about her, so please stop bringing her up to me. And then Howard's wife ends up being the one to give her the information to go find the grandma or whatever. So she goes to the grandma, and the grandma is explaining how basically death has been haunting everybody that was supposed to die inside that building. And then it goes to show the rest of the premonition. You know, after she actually has the premonition, she step by step goes and stops everything that was supposed to collapse that tower. She grabs the little penny from the kid. She goes downstairs and then puts a cap over the flames so nothing starts exploding and fire and stuff like that. She tells everybody to get off the glass floor so nobody falls through. Like, she stops the entire collapse from happening to the point where everybody's able to leave and go home. And of course, they're able to continue living on life and having these families. And of course, that's what leads into the title Bloodlines. So her stopping that huge event from happening and them all surviving, everybody inside that building, their families go on to be the protagonist of all the Final Destination movies, from the first one to the second one to the third one to the fourth one to the fifth one. Every single protagonist is somehow related to people that were inside that building, which is a crazy twist and a crazy plot line. And I think whoever made that part of the script needs their dick sucked. Like, that is phenomenal, and it explains every single Final Destination movie, and explains it to a T, basically. Like, I really enjoyed that twist on the story. Like, this movie is only happening to explain every Final Destination movie. And I feel like each time Final Destination like goes on and continues making these movies, like the fifth one had that crazy plot twist where it was actually the first one, and then this one has a twist where it's like all this created all these movies. And like, I love whenever you have like a basic plot for a movie, and then as the second one and the third one and the fourth one, as it continues on, you're able to expand on that universe in a way that was just unimaginable from the first one. Like, if you were to ask somebody from 1999 or wherever the first one came out, like, yo, this is gonna end up being this, like, it'd be like a, yo, what? Like, it didn't make any sense, like, how big this universe got to be. But so the grandma's explaining, like, yes, everybody's died though. Like, every death is taken out. People from the first movie, of course, the second movie, the third movie, the fourth movie. All these people that were supposed to, you know, survive that incident ended up dying and getting taken out. And the only family left is our family. And death is now taking all of us out so we can finally fix that little hole that was inside Death's design or whatever. Once this family dies, everything is cured and Death goes back to being happy-go-lucky, hunky-dory until Final Destination 7 comes out and somebody fucks up the universe again somehow. But basically, she doesn't believe her at first. The grandma's like, "Bet you don't believe me? Better to show you than tell you. Watch this." And then as soon as she steps out of the house, Death, boom, this moves, this explodes, this hits a fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher shoots the piece of metal and the grandma dies immediately. And the girl's just standing there like, okay, this shit is real. Like, it's clearly real, because how the fuck did any of that happen? So she ends up going back to the family, telling them like, yo, please believe me, this stuff is happening for a reason. The family's like, get your dumb ass out of here. Doesn't believe her. So they're like, all right, bet, say less. She goes and like starts reading the book at her own house, flipping through the pages and just seeing the different designs, which if they made this book into an actual piece of merchandise, I'd buy it. Cause it's literally a book of every single movie and like everything that could go wrong inside life. Like, stay away from this because this might cause this, this might cause this, this might cause this, and then now you're hanging by your ding-a-ling. Like, everything inside this book is like a way that you can die and what to avoid in these specific situations. So as she's reading this at her own house, she ends up getting kind of like a sign that something bad is about to happen to somebody inside her family. This thing falls off a shelf and a shard of glass kind of like slides over to her, and she looks at it and she's like, oh shit, I need to go really warn my family about this so they actually believe me. And they're like, all right, bet. So she starts driving over there. She ends up getting there too late, and Howard, the guy I was explaining earlier, steps on this piece of glass and like falls backwards, and a lawnmower literally cuts every single part of his head outside of his head. Like, it just sits there for a while and shows the lawnmower just still spinning as his head is getting clearly bladed. Like, I don't even know what that would be called, eviscerated, like string bean, like whatever you want to call it, bro. Like, he gets annihilated, which is kind of what I referenced in this non-spoiler part of the video. How do you see something like that and then somebody telling you, yo, this is about to happen to every single one of us if we don't try to stop this, and then still be like, I don't believe it? Like, that's why I didn't like her dad's character. It's like he didn't believe nothing. Like, he witnessed that happen and was just like, whatever. He was there at the grandma's funeral where Stephanie explained, was like, yo, we stepped out the house and then a piece of metal launched from a fire extinguisher and impaled through her head. Like, this crazy stuff where you explain to somebody, it's like, no, there's no way nobody's not gonna believe that, genuinely. But of course, you gotta have your skeptics in these movies to kind of knock out the first few deaths. But the wildest part is, like, he won't even die. Like, he's not even a part of the he's not even a part of the family. Like, he married into the family, so he's cool, he's safe. His mom and great-grandma and great-great-grandma are supposed to be here. Like, he just don't believe it for no reason. Or it's kind of like a thing where it's like, oh, bro, I'm safe. I don't care. Y'all, good luck. But he just don't believe it whatsoever. But it goes on to, like, her, really hunkering down, like, guys, please believe me. And nobody believes her again. One of the characters, whose name is Eric, ends up going to work that night. And he works in a tattoo parlor. And everything that you guys saw in the trailer for Final Destination movie, where he's like, get his, the chain links up to his nose or whatever, all that happens. But the only thing different is that, like, a fire hits a set of, like, explosives and kind of blows the whole building up. But he has a leather jacket on, so he's able to survive that. And this kind of is weird to Stephanie, the main character, in a way, because she's like, if this is going by bloodline, and it's your dad, who was the older brother of the grandma, whose name was Iris. The design is supposed to go like this. Iris dies first, her firstborn dies next, and then the firstborn's kids die in the order that they were born, and then it moves on to Iris's younger daughter, and then their family dies as well. Like, that's how it goes. So I don't even live in the garage anymore. Some of y'all will get that, some of y'all won't, but, like, why is that even happening? But that's how Death's design goes inside this movie. So it's going in order of every single person that was born first throughout their bloodlines or whatever. So Eric was supposed to die right there. He was the oldest son of Howard, basically, and he just didn't die. So she's wondering, like, how exactly did this happen? She goes to confront him, and she's like, yo, you okay? You good? And he's like, yeah, man. I caught on fire a little bit, but since I had my leather jacket on, I didn't die. I'm good. I only got this little burn right here. It really doesn't matter. And she's like, well, like, if he didn't die right there, then who's supposed to die then? So she's trying to tell him, like, yo, this is probably one of the coolest parts of the movie, because, like, it explains how exactly probably the writers think when they do these scenes like this. She's like, Eric, you gotta watch out, because that little tree trimmer can fall down. It can spook that guy with the leaf blower. The guy with the leaf blower can scare those kids kicking that soccer ball, and then the kids with the soccer ball will accidentally kick it and then hit you in the head and you'll die. And he's like, whoa, dying by a soccer ball. Like, he just making fun of it, clearly just not believing it. He's like the comic relief character, basically. But a really likable like, this might be this series' best comic relief character, because he's a really likable character. But he just doesn't believe it at first. He's mad skeptic. until what happens next. As she's talking to him, his younger sister comes out, who would be next. So it'd be him, who was the father of the guy that got hit by the lawnmower, and then the younger sister would be after him, and then the younger sister has a younger brother who would be after both of them die. The younger sister comes out and is like, "Hey, you guys still talking about that bullshit, whatever. I'm going running." She puts the earphones in and starts running. And it was an amazing camera shot because they were sitting here talking like off to the side. Like you can still see Eric right here in this frame. Like, guys, I don't understand what's gonna happen. But you can see her like running down the sidewalk in the background. And then literally everything that she explained was gonna happen. Like you literally see the hacksaw fall down, the guy blow the lawnmower, and then the kid kick the soccer ball because he got scared from the lawnmower and it got in his eyes or whatever. And the soccer ball like hits her in the head and she like falls into this garbage can as this dumpster truck is like picking it up and putting it into the car. Like it sounds extremely goofy, but if you like Final Destination, it's just one of those scenes that's like, it's so goofy that it's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, it's a well done scene, but it's just goofy as hell. But you like it because you like Final Destination. And then they see that happen and like try to stop it, of course. The guy driving the truck didn't notice it because he's listening to music while he's texting and driving, swiping through Tinder and shit. And he doesn't hear them banging on the truck or whatever because, of course, it's a loud truck and you listening to music. So you're not going to hear anything. Eventually, as she's in the back trying to climb out or whatever because the trash starts to compact or whatever, they jump in front of us like, yo. And then as the truck like lurches, she falls deeper into it, and Stephanie is able to climb on the top as it's like Oz is like driving and stopped or whatever, and she reaches out to grab her, and of course she's too late. The compactor ends up like not smushing her, but like she has her. Basically, it's like this. Like, she's holding on right here, and the compactor is, like, pushing her jaw to where only, like, this half of her head is, like, up still, and everything else kind of got pushed off of that half of her head. So, only, like, her cranium and up is, like, above the compactor. Everything else is kind of, like, obviously in the trash or whatever, which is a really well-done scene. The CGI was a little iffy, a little bit, but, honestly, it was a really cool death. She ends up dying, and then everybody kind of believes them after that. It's like, okay, this shit is really happening. So they end up finding, somebody they can go talk to, who is Tony Todd's character. Rest in peace. Tony Todd's character is like inside of a hospital and a morgue, so they have to go to the hospital to talk to him, whatever. We get some really cool scenes and really character building scenes throughout all this. You can tell that Eric, who is the oldest brother, genuinely loves the younger brother. Like, they actually have like a real bond, and like they're all just so innocent, which makes it worse. It's like usually inside these movies you have one asshole character, but inside this movie it's like they all love each other, and if they're arguing, it's because they have an actual real reason to argue. Like, there's tension between a few of the characters and the main character because the main character kind of like just left them all to go off to college and then didn't really respond back to any of them. So there's obvious reasons why you would be mad at somebody for doing that. The little brother kind of has like standoffish reasons to not like her because he got left by her in the same way that their mom left, because that's a huge part of the story as well, is that their mom left them when they were very young. So a lot of characters kind of feel a way about her because, like, why are you coming back out of nowhere after you haven't talked to us for years or however long you've been gone to just bring bullshit, and now people are dying or whatever. Like, we believe you, but it's kind of just like, whatever. But what ends up happening is she's questioning why Eric got skipped, because Eric is supposed to be the oldest brother of the family. Why did he get skipped? And the sister that was supposed to be next after him died before him. And it ends up being a plot twist that, well, that's not Howard's son. Like, I ended up having an affair with a different dude. Howard knew, of course, but Eric never knew. Nobody in the family knew except Howard and the dude that, whose dad it was or whatever. So he's not even inside the family. Eric is safe. Like, he should not die throughout this entire movie because he's not even a part of this bloodline whatsoever. But what ends up happening is, they end up going to the hospital, whatever, to talk to Tony Todd's character, whose name is JB inside this. I forget what the J stands for, but of course it's Mr. Bloodworth, who's inside all these movies. His character is in every single movie except the fourth one, of course. Why would anybody want to be inside that movie? His voice is inside the third one, but his character isn't inside the fourth one whatsoever. They're talking to him, and Bloodworth is like, look, I've been approached by all these people. I'm going to explain to you why this is happening. All these bloodlines and all these families don't even need to be existing, and they should have died way back in that tower along with me. So that's when he reveals that he was the little black boy that Iris ended up saving, and inside the Premonition he died after her. So technically he dies, which is a really, really amazing storyline to the series, because he's inside all of them, but you don't understand who this guy is. He's just there, like he's just a mortician, whatever that's called, a morgue person. He just handles the dead bodies and stuff. But it finally explains like why he knows about everything, and it's because he is not able to technically die until every family inside that place dies, and then once Iris's family dies, then he'll end up eventually dying. So he's telling them like, yo, the only way y'all can escape this, it's only been done one time before, which is the main character from the second movie. You have to basically die and then be brought back to life. That's the only way you can kind of skip this, or you can kill somebody and then take their life into your hands. So like if I supposedly have 10 years left to live and somebody kills me, then they get my 10 years, and we kind of like switch out, like they die in my place and I get their 10 years. But the risk with that is you don't know how long somebody has. You kind of might kill somebody who unknowingly had a tumor in their brain, and they're supposed to die any day now at this point, and then you just kind of just fuck yourself regardless. So the best way to do it is to die and then come back, resuscitate yourself. So of course they're in a hospital. Eric is talking to his younger brother and is like, yo, you have a peanut allergy. We can end this all right now if you eat a Snickers or a Reese's Pieces. That kills you. I can wheel you to the emergency room and they can bring you back to life. Flawless. We can end this right now. The only bad part of this plan is that I'm speaking to like as a watcher of this because of course I'm gonna hate on some parts of it. I love everything, but like if you had this plan, why wouldn't you do it inside the emergency room? Like why would you do it in some secret part of the hospital that nobody's at, and clearly you could die inside here, instead of just going to the emergency room, you eating that, suffocating, dying, doctors can grab you up and then bring you back to life inside there. But they didn't think that far ahead. They ended up going inside this room, and Final Destination stuff happens. This falls, this blows this falls on top of this, and now the MRI machine is turning on. It's booting up stronger than it's supposed to be because they keep on like bumping into stuff and knocking it further and pushing it past its limits basically. So this MRI machine is the death I was talking about in the beginning of this video. That is could be potentially the best death this entire series. Because Bloodworth kind of explains like, yo, even if you just fuck with death, like that will have repercussions in itself. Like you won't even be in death's way, but if you just are just trying your hardest to fuck with him, he'll take you out, and it will be extremely messy, I promise you. Which explains, this next death, who I said earlier shouldn't have even died, who is Eric's character. Eric's character was very likable, along with Bobby's character was extremely likable, because Bobby is like, you know how they in TikTok they're like, somebody has like golden retriever energy. That's Bobby's character. Like his character is just like a very loving person, and he clearly is like, bro, I don't want to die, man. Like I'm such a good dude, and I have a pet turtle, and if I do die, can you watch after my pet turtle, please? Because they're supposed to live for 100 years, and please just watch after my pet turtle if I do end up dying. Like he's such a likable, lovey-dovey character, genuinely. Like I don't think we've ever had a character like that in these series. Like he's just a very likable character along with everybody else. So they end up going inside this room. MRI turns on. He eats the Reese's Pieces or whatever it is, and of course starts to die. He starts choking. His face starts getting all big and stuff like that. And as he's choking, he starts trying to like fight for the EpiPen because he doesn't want to die. So Eric is like, no, bro, I gotta keep this, and like moves behind him, and like puts a wheelchair that Bobby was supposed to be sitting in so he can wheel him out of the room to the ER. He puts that in between them. Well, MRI starts getting mad strong, and Eric's character is like a tattoo artist, as I said earlier, and his piercings start just flying out of him. Like all of his piercings are getting sucked into this MRI machine basically, because it's getting so strong to the point where all magnetism, all magnetic items are getting pulled to this machine basically, which apparently is real. Like I was talking to my mom like after the movie or whatever, and apparently MRI machines like are genuinely that fucking strong. Like I never knew that, but apparently it's like actually like a huge magnet that can be pushed to limits that is just amazing. Apparently I never knew that, but apparently like that's actually a thing. Like they tell you to remove all your piercings and stuff before you go in there, because it really will rip that shit out of you. He has a Jacob's ladder piercing that rips like rips out of his dick. Like all of his stuff just kind of starts flying away. But what happens is, I can best explain it like this. Let's see this. So this is the hole to the MRI machine. Well, after all of his piercings get ripped out of him, the wheelchair kind of like pushes him up against this MRI machine, where he's like standing like this. He's not facing this way where you can get sucked in like this. He's facing the other way, in the way your body isn't supposed to bend. And that wheelchair is needing to go inside that machine because it's pure metal. So what happens is, the wheelchair, not having any other way to get into that little hole that is the MRI machine, folds his body in half and kind of like goes through him until it pushes him all the way through, and his back kind of just goes into a V shape and gets sucked in along with the wheelchair. Which is whoever thought of that is nuts. Like that in itself is like a crazy ass scene. And then this nurse walks in and is like, oh my god, are you guys okay? What's going on? And then boom, death, set up prior, foreshadowing earlier. Bobby ends up dying from like a spring from the vending machine that they got the Reese's Pieces from. It kind of like hits him right here and then like explodes his like half of his head and kind of like just keeps on rotating until it goes all the way through his brain. A really cool death, a really well done death as well. But Eric's is obviously the death that will probably stick with a lot of people after leaving this movie. Stephanie, Charlie, and their mom walk in. They see what's happening. It's like, okay, we're next. They just died. We need to stop this right now. A scene that they took out that I really wish was inside this, but now that after seeing the movie, it don't make any sense for it to be there, is the revolving door scene. Like inside the trailer, if you guys have watched the trailer, there's a scene where their mom, Charlie and Stephanie mom's the main characters, their mom kind of like gets stuck in the revolving door, and then it doesn't show what happens. I wish I could see like what their plan for that was, because that looked like a pretty cool death, but I'm sure they wanted their characters to make it out of the hospital and then set up the end game for the movie or whatever. So they end up leaving. Another cool part, which is still set up crazy, the mom was like, yo, we need to go to a place that we're safe, and then Stephanie, the main character, is like, yo, well, let's go to grandma's house because it's highly fortified and she survived there for decades holding off death so we could all live our lives peacefully. And mom's like, bet. So she grabs the book that the grandma gave them, and then the penny that the little boy had falls out of the book and lands on the concrete or whatever. After they leave and pull off to go to that house, the fortified house, a granny walks up and is like, oh, a penny, and then picks it up and then puts it in her pocket. I was like, what the fuck are they gonna do with this? Like, there's no way that granny somehow kills that family with the penny, but I know it's setting up something because that penny's been important this entire goddamn movie. It goes to the grandma's house. Boom, boom, stuff happens. The car they're driving gets kind of like submerged into water. Stephanie starts drowning as the house explodes that they're going into. Almost kills the mom, traps the son under like this huge plank of wood. He's trying to get off so he can save his sister. The mom survives the explosion, helps him get up, and is like, I'm never gonna die. And then something immediately kills her. So the son runs over and tries his hardest to help the sister out, or whatever, the main character, Stephanie. it fades to black as she's kind of like drowning because she can't get her seatbelt off because, like I said, Final Destination stuff, boom, boom, stuff happens, and now she's trapped in the car. She's trying to get out. She ends up drowning. He brings her back out and is able to bring her back to life. So that is where she dies, and then he brings her back. So he saves her life. And of course, the thought is, or the idea is that she has been killed and brought back to life, and that's what Bloodworth said, how she stopped death, so everything should be done now. Of course, like I said, it fades to black, and then like all great Final Destination movies, it fades right back in. So you're like, oh, well, hey, they're gonna die. Hey, as soon as it fades back in, you're like, oh, bet, say, so they are gonna die. Yeah, so there's no point in even, having any hopes for them surviving. Only person that's not done that to is, like he said, the girl from the second movie, the main character, Kimberly. She survives, but even when it fades back in, it still kills somebody else. So yeah, I'm still right. Fades back in, it's like his prom or something, so he's dressed up into the nines. It's showing, his dating stuff and her family and everything. And as she's fixing his little croissant or corsage or whatever the fuck it's called, she pricks herself, which is the same thing that happened to Iris at the beginning of the movie. So it's like, she's like, what? Because she's been having these nightmares, of course, so she knows exactly what that's referencing to. And she's talking to the dad of the dude, I guess, that her brother brought up to her prom date or whatever. She's like, yeah, I'm just glad that he ended up bringing me back to life that day. And the dad's like, oh, well. And they're like, what? What do you mean? He was like, well, I mean, you didn't technically die, like, because he was able to, pump air back into your body. If you died, you would have had to be resuscitated, which is the same thing that happened to the main character in the second movie. You would have to be brought back to life genuinely by, like, some sort of electricity to get your heart pumping again. But most likely what happened is you passed out while you were drowning, and he brought you back to life by giving you CPR or something, or breathing air into you. Like, you probably just passed out. And she makes the face of like, well, we're fucked. And then it cuts over to the granny who had the penny. She's like, this is the part that's kind of like I was talking about earlier, where it's like, what the fuck? Like, it just like seems so just out there that this is the only thing that could not ever fucking happen, but it's still a Final Destination movie, so of course it happened. But she's walking past this lemonade stand, and the girl's like, oh, you want to buy some lemonade? And she's like, of course. So she opens up her wallet, and that same penny falls out and then rolls literally like the damn, what's that shit called, bro? That ravioli that used to follow kids home, the little can, the chef Boyardee. Like, it literally rolls like, it had to have been like 5 yards, bro. Like, crazy roll in. And then it bounces up. And of course, as I said at the beginning of this video, or the beginning of the spoiler free or spoiler, whatever I said it in, they're in a neighborhood, scans over, shows the entire neighborhood, and it also shows a railroad track next to that neighborhood. That penny bounces up, and as the railroad track is closed and they kind of change lanes, the penny gets lodged in between the lane changer, and as the girl's putting 2 and 3 together, that she's like, oh, we might actually die. The train hits that lodge point, crashes off the railroad track or whatever, and then like goes through the neighborhood, and they kind of see the train's like, right, and they try to outrun it for a little bit, and then they end up surviving because the train like slowly stops as they're trying to outrun it or whatever, and then they're like, yo, do we win? And then the train like lurches forward, and the logs that are on the train, logs kind of like fly off and then kill both of them, which is it made my brother really mad because he's not used to a Final Destination movie. So it's kind of like, damn, they did all that just to die, but he don't realize that, like, hey, we already went through that like 4 times, bro. Like, welcome to the club, bro. Like, we also witnessed these people try to survive everything and then still end up just dying at the end of the movie, which I wish this one would a little different. I wish they would have actually like ended this in a good ending, but I know it's very rare for that to ever happen in the Final Destination movie, and I know that they did that to kind of end off Tony Todd's character, because like I said, his character, the little black boy, died after Iris did, so his character technically only dies after every family in there, the Premonition dies, including Iris's family. So I know they wanted to send off his character well. I'm pretty sure there was even to the point where there might have even been a conversation that was like Tony Todd maybe pulled the director aside and was like, "Yo, this isn't public news. Don't tell anybody. I have cancer. I'm pretty sure that's what he passed away of, cancer. I have cancer and I'm dying, and it'd be cool if we incorporated this into the storyline in some way, because I'm gonna pass away and I'm not gonna be able to be this character anymore. So it'd be cool if you killed off my character in this way." Because people in horror movies, I think they have this kind of like at peace mindset when it comes to getting a good death of their character. I've heard a lot of actors say that, like, yeah, I'm glad they killed my character off in a way. Even characters in Final Destination said, like, yo, I'm glad I died. One of the coolest deaths in the franchise. And Tony Todd's character literally solidifies the entire series. Like, that family's dead, so now he has to die. And the only way there could be another Final Destination is if he had kids and that family is left, and then that kind of starts off maybe something else. But that's the only way, is if we have a black protagonist for FD7, which we'll see. We've never had a black protagonist before in any of these movies, a main character anyway. So it'd be cool to have like finally a black main character who is Tony Todd's son or grandson or something, and then that be the last movie or whatever. But the movie was phenomenal, bro. The movie was phenomenal for sure. I would, like I said, I would give it a 5 out of 5 for sure. Even just talking about it, the deaths were amazing. I think I went over every single one of them. I didn't miss any. The one that was kind of lackluster is the one where the mom died, where she was like, I'll stay alive as long as I can, and then she just gets like hit by like a sign or something, or like a lamppost kind of like kills her and falls on top of her or whatever. That's the only one that's kind of like, whatever. But all the other deaths were phenomenal. Even the logs at the end killing both of them, I was kind of fired too. But hope you guys enjoyed this. This video probably at least like 50 minutes long, so definitely one of the longer videos on this channel, but I'm sure somebody out there wanted to hear the full synopsis instead of just going to see it, because they might be scared of scary movies. I have no idea. But thank you guys for watching this full thing. Let me know if you guys feel about this, if you did watch the movie yourself. I'm getting out of here, and I'll see you guys next one. Like I said, 5 out of 5. Highly recommend. Go watch it. Still, even if you have heard this entire thing, go watch the movie, because it's still a good movie. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. I'll see you guys next one.